The grand hall of the empire stretched for nearly a mile. Its walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Thousands of nobles stood in perfect rows, their silver skin gleaming under the floating orbs that served as lights. At the center of this vast space, Princess knelt on the cold floor. She had knelt here for 3 hours now. Her knees ached. Her back burned with pain, but she did not move. She did not complain. A princess did not show weakness. Above her, sitting on a throne made of compressed starlight, her brother watched her with cruel amusement in his 4 eyes. He was the crown prince, the future emperor, and he had always hated her. "The medical council has spoken," announced, his voice echoing through the hall. "Princess of the Third Moon, daughter of Emperor the Great, has been declared barren. She cannot produce children. She cannot continue our sacred bloodline." A wave of whispers rolled through the crowd, kept her eyes on the floor. She had known this moment would come. The doctors had told her privately 2 weeks ago. Her body could not create life. In the empire where bloodlines meant everything, she was now worthless. "Our laws are clear," continued. "A barren princess has no place in the succession. She has no value to the empire. She is." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "Nothing." The word hit like a physical blow. She had spent her entire life serving the empire. She had studied politics, warfare, and diplomacy. She had led armies and negotiated treaties, but none of that mattered now. In the eyes of her people, she was nothing more than a failed womb. "However," said, and heard the smile in his voice, "I am a merciful brother. I will not cast her out into the void. Instead, I have found her a husband." His head snapped up. This was not part of the traditional ceremony, was planning something. "The human delegation has requested a marriage alliance," announced. "They want one of our princesses to marry one of their diplomats." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Humans were considered the lowest species in the galactic community. They were small, weak, and short-lived. Their planet was a tiny blue dot at the edge of explored space. No one took them seriously. "I have decided to honor their request," said. "Princess will marry the human diplomat Han Ho. She will live on Earth for the rest of her days." The laughter grew louder. Nobles pointed at and made jokes. Some pretended to cry. Others made crude gestures. Understood now. This was not a marriage. This was a punishment, was sending her to live among primitives as a final insult. She wanted to scream. She wanted to fight. But what could she do? She had no allies here. Her father, the emperor, had died 2 years ago. Her mother had passed when she was a child. She was alone. "Do you accept this marriage, princess?" asked. The question was a formality. She had no choice. "I accept," she said quietly. "Louder, sister, let everyone hear." "I accept." The crowd cheered and laughed, smiled his cold smile, and felt something inside her die. 3 days later, she stood in the departure bay of the Imperial Station. A small transport ship waited to take her to Earth. She had been allowed to bring only 2 bags of personal belongings. Everything else, her rooms, her servants, her possessions, had been given to other nobles. Came to see her off. He was alone, which surprised her. "I want you to understand something," he said, stepping close so only she could hear. "This is not just punishment. This is erasure. After today, your name will be removed from all official records. You will not be mentioned in any history. It will be as if you never existed." Said nothing. "The human you are marrying is apparently some minor official," continued. "He works with refugee children or something equally pathetic. You will spend your remaining years in obscurity, married to a primitive, forgotten by everyone who matters." "Is that all?" asked. His 4 eyes narrowed. "You do not seem upset." "Would it change anything if I was?" Her brother laughed. "No, I suppose not. Goodbye, try not to die too quickly. I want you to suffer for a long time." He turned and walked away, watched him go, then boarded the ship. The journey to Earth took 6 days. spent most of it in her small cabin staring at the walls. She did not eat much. She did not sleep well. She thought about her life and wondered where it had gone wrong. She had been born into privilege. She had been given the best education, the finest training, every advantage. But none of it had mattered in the end. Her body had betrayed her, and her society had thrown her away. When the ship finally entered Earth's orbit, looked out the window at the blue planet below. It was smaller than she had expected, covered in water and clouds. From space, it looked peaceful. A shuttle took her down to a landing pad in a city called Seoul. The air was different here, thick and warm, full of strange smells. The gravity was slightly lighter than what she was used to. The sun was yellow instead of blue. And standing at the edge of the landing pad, waiting for her, was a human. He was smaller than men, perhaps 5 feet and 10 inches tall. His skin was a warm brown color, and his hair was black and cut short. He had only 2 eyes like all humans, and they were dark and kind. He was holding flowers. Stepped off the shuttle and stopped a few feet away from him. She towered over him by at least a foot. Her silver skin and 4 eyes must have looked strange to him, but he did not seem afraid or disgusted. He just smiled. "Hello," he said in perfect. "I am Han Ho. Welcome to Earth." His accent was slightly wrong, but the effort he had made was clear. He had learned her language just to greet her. "These are for you," he said, holding out the flowers. "They are called roses. On Earth, we give them to show respect and welcome." Stared at the flowers. They were red, with soft petals and sharp thorns. She had never been given flowers before. Such gestures were considered beneath nobility. "Thank you," she said, taking them carefully. "You must be tired from your journey," Ho said. "I have prepared a place for you to rest. It is not as grand as what you are used to, but I hope it will be comfortable." He led her to a vehicle, a small wheeled machine that moved along the ground. Had never ridden in anything so primitive, but she said nothing and climbed inside. As they drove through the city, Ho pointed out various landmarks. He told her about the history of Seoul, the food she might enjoy, the places she could visit. He spoke easily, without nervousness, as if having an alien princess in his car was perfectly normal. "I know this must be difficult for you," he said eventually. "I heard about the situation." Stiffened. "What did you hear?" "That your people sent you here as an insult. That this marriage is meant to be a punishment." She said nothing. "I want you to know," Ho continued, "that I did not ask for this marriage to hurt you. I asked because I thought it might help." "Help who?" "Both of us, maybe." He glanced at her. "The Empire has been blocking humanitarian aid to several war zones. I hope that a marriage alliance might open some doors, help save some lives." Frowned. "You married me for political reasons." "I married you because my government asked me to, but I want to be honest with you about why." He paused. "I also want you to know that I have no expectations." "What do you mean?" "I mean that this marriage can be whatever you want it to be. We can live as strangers if you prefer. You can have your own rooms, your own life. I will not demand anything from you. You are not my prisoner." Did not know what to say. A husband owned his wife. Her wishes did not matter. Her comfort was irrelevant. She was property. "Why would you do that?" she asked. "Why give me freedom?" Ho smiled. It was a small smile, gentle and sad. "Because everyone deserves to be free," he said. "Even people the galaxy has given up on." They arrived at his home, a small apartment on the 15th floor of a tall building. It had 3 rooms, a kitchen, and a balcony that looked out over the city. By standards, it was tiny. By Earth standards, Ho explained, it was quite nice. "This is your room," he said, opening a door. "I bought new furniture last week. I was not sure what people sleep on, so I got several options." The room contained a bed, a hammock, and a large cushion on the floor. There was also a desk, a closet, and a window with a view of the sunset. "The bathroom is through that door," Ho continued. I had special fixtures installed that should be compatible with your biology. If anything is wrong, please tell me and I will fix it. Walked into the room slowly. She touched the bed, felt the softness of the sheets. She looked out the window at the orange sky. This is acceptable, she said. I am glad. Ho hesitated at the door. I will let you rest now. There is food in the kitchen if you get hungry. Please make yourself at home. He started to leave. Wait, said. He stopped. Why do you keep saying please? Why do you keep asking what I want? Ho thought about the question. Because you are a person, he said simply, and persons deserve to be asked. He left, closing the door behind him. Stood alone in her new room, holding the roses, and felt something she had not felt in a very long time. Confusion. She had expected cruelty. She had expected to be mocked and mistreated. She had prepared herself for misery. She had not prepared for kindness. That night she lay awake in the unfamiliar bed, listening to the sounds of the city outside. She thought about Ho and his gentle smile. She thought about the roses and the carefully prepared room. She did not understand this human. She did not understand this planet. But for the first time in months, she was not afraid. And somewhere deep inside her, in a place she had thought was dead, something small and fragile began to grow. It felt almost like hope. The first week was the hardest. Did not know how to live in such a small space. She had commanded a palace with 200 rooms. Here, she could walk from one end of the apartment to the other in 20 steps. The walls felt like they were closing in on her. She also did not know how to live without servants. She had never cooked a meal, washed a dish, or cleaned a floor. Now she had to do everything herself. The first time she tried to use the cooking machine, she nearly set the kitchen on fire. Ho had come running with a small red bottle that sprayed white foam everywhere. Are you hurt? He asked, checking her hands and arms for burns. I am fine, she said stiffly. The machine attacked me. Ho looked at the smoking remains of what had been rice. The machine did not attack you. You put metal in the microwave. I do not know what those words mean. He laughed, not a cruel laugh but a warm one. It is okay, I will teach you. And he did. Over the following days, Ho taught her how to cook simple meals. He taught her how to use the washing machine and the vacuum cleaner and the dishwasher. He taught her how to order food from her phone and how to pay for things with a small plastic card. He was patient with her mistakes. When she broke things, he fixed them without complaint. When she got frustrated and yelled, he waited calmly until she was done. Why do you not yell back? She asked him one evening. Would it help if I did? It would feel more normal. Ho smiled. I am sorry to disappoint you. She did not understand him. Men shouted and threatened and demanded. They took what they wanted and hurt anyone who got in their way. Ho did none of these things. He asked permission before entering her room. He apologized when he made noise in the morning. He always made sure there was food she could eat. What do you want from me? She asked one night. They were sitting on the balcony, watching the city lights below. Ho was drinking something called tea, had tried it and found it too bitter. What do you mean? He asked. You are kind to me. You give me food and shelter and privacy, but you must want something in return. Everyone wants something. Ho thought about this for a long moment. I suppose I want you to be happy, he said finally. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I have. Shook her head. You are strange. So I have been told. As the weeks passed, began to learn more about her human husband. He woke early every morning and exercised on the balcony. He ate a simple breakfast of rice and soup. He worked long hours at something called the Galactic Refugee Center, and he often came home late and tired. But he never complained, and no matter how tired he was, he always asked about her day. Did you try the Korean food I left in the refrigerator? He would ask. Or, did you figure out how to use the streaming service? Or, would you like to go for a walk tomorrow? The cherry blossoms are beautiful this time of year. Small questions, simple kindnesses, nothing dramatic or grand. But they added up. 1 month after her arrival, asked if she could see where he worked. Ho seemed surprised. You want to visit the refugee center? Yes, I want to understand what you do. He smiled that gentle smile she was starting to recognize. I would like that very much. The Galactic Refugee Center was a large building on the edge of the city. It had been converted from an old factory into a shelter for displaced beings from across the galaxy. When they arrived, saw creatures of all shapes and sizes moving through the halls. Some had wings, some had tails, some moved on legs, others on tentacles. And many of them were children. The galaxy is not kind to the weak, Ho explained as they walked. Wars, famines, natural disasters, they create millions of refugees every year. Most planets do not want them. They are seen as burdens. Does not accept refugees, said. I know most empires do not, but Earth does. Ho waved at a small creature that looked like a blue cat. We take in whoever needs help, especially children. They entered a large room filled with beds and toys and climbing structures. Dozens of alien children were playing, eating, and sleeping. Human workers moved among them, feeding them, treating their injuries, comforting them when they cried. These are the youngest residents, Ho said. Most of them lost their parents in conflicts. Some were abandoned. A few were rescued from trafficking ships. Watched a human woman cradling a small green infant. The baby was making soft clicking sounds, and the woman was clicking back, trying to speak its language. This is what you do every day? Asked. Yes, I manage the center. I make sure we have enough food, medicine, and supplies. I coordinate with governments and aid organizations. And sometimes, he paused, watching a toddler with 6 legs stumble toward him. Sometimes I just play with the kids. He bent down and caught the toddler, lifting it up and spinning it around. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter. On said slowly, children who cannot work are considered useless. They are sometimes disposed of. Ho looked at her with sadness in his eyes. I know, many species think that way. But humans do not. No, we believe that children are precious. All children, no matter where they come from or what they can do. He set the toddler down gently. Every child deserves love. That is what we believe. Did not respond. She was thinking about her own childhood. She had been raised by servants and tutors. Her parents had been distant figures she rarely saw. She had been trained to be useful, not loved. She had never questioned it before. It was simply how things were. But now, watching these humans care for children who were not their own, children who came from enemy species, children who could offer nothing in return, she began to wonder if there might be another way. After that day, started visiting the refugee center regularly. At first, she just watched. She stood in corners and observed how the humans worked. She saw their patience, their gentleness, their endless capacity for care. Then slowly, she began to help. It started small. She translated for a child who could not speak English. She helped organize supplies in the storage room. She read stories to a group of infants who could not sleep. The children were afraid of her at first. She was tall and silver and strange. But children adapt quickly. Soon they were climbing on her, pulling her hair, asking her to play. She did not know how to play. She had never learned, but she tried. You are different than I expected, Ho told her one evening. They were walking home from the center together. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. What did you expect? Asked. I thought you would be cold, distant, imperial, he shrugged. I thought you would hate being here. I did hate it at first. And now? Considered the question. She thought about the children at the center. She thought about the small apartment that had started to feel like home. She thought about Ho and his quiet kindness. "Now I am not sure what I feel," she admitted. "Everything is different here. The rules I grew up with do not seem to apply." "What rules?" "That strength is everything. That weakness must be punished. That children are investments, not individuals. That love is a transaction." She paused. I was taught that my only value was my ability to produce heirs. When I could not do that, I became worthless." Ho stopped walking. He turned to face her. "You are not worthless," he said. "You do not know me." "I know enough." He looked up at her with his kind, dark eyes. "I know that the children at the center love you. I know that you work harder than any volunteer I have ever had. I know that you are learning and growing and trying. That is not enough on. This is not." They stood there in the fading light looking at each other, felt something shift inside her chest. It was uncomfortable, like a muscle being stretched for the first time. "Why do you care about me?" she asked. "Because everyone deserves someone who cares about them." "That is not an answer." "It is for me." She did not understand him. She was not sure she ever would. But standing there on that street, with the cherry blossoms falling around them like pink snow, she realized something important. She wanted to understand. She wanted to learn. She wanted to become someone who could believe what he believed. "Ho," she said. "Yes." "Thank you." He smiled. "For what?" "For giving me a chance. For not treating me like a punishment to be endured." "You were never a punishment. You were an opportunity." "An opportunity for what?" His smile widened. "To be proven wrong." "About what?" "I used to think the Empire had no heart, that it was all cruelty and coldness." He reached out and took her hand, the first time he had touched her willingly. "But then I met you, and I began to think that maybe hearts can be hidden. Maybe they can be buried under years of pain and expectation, and maybe, with enough time and care, they can be uncovered." Looked down at their joined hands. His skin was warm against her silver fingers. "I do not know if I have a heart," she said quietly. "I think you do. I think it is waking up." They walked home together, hand in hand, as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. That night lay awake again. But this time, she was not thinking about her pain or her exile or her worthlessness. She was thinking about the children at the center, about the small green infant and the toddler with 6 legs, about the child who had hugged her leg and called her Big Lady. She was thinking about Ho and his patience, about his belief that everyone deserved love, about his conviction that she was not worthless. She was thinking about what it might feel like to believe those things herself. And for the first time in her life, began to cry. Not tears of sadness, not tears of anger. Tears of something new, something she did not have a name for yet. Something that felt almost like hope beginning to bloom. The walls she had built around herself were starting to crack, and through the cracks, light was beginning to seep in. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if she could change, but she knew one thing with certainty. She wanted to try. And that wanting, that small spark of desire for something better, was the most revolutionary feeling she had ever experienced. In the Empire, wanting was forbidden, desire was weakness, hope was foolishness. But here on Earth, in this small apartment, with a kind man sleeping in the next room, allowed herself to want. She wanted to be better. She wanted to be kinder. She wanted to be worthy of the kindness she had been shown. And somewhere in the distance, across the vast emptiness of space, her brother would have laughed at her foolishness, but did not care. For the first time in her life, she was not thinking about what wanted. She was thinking about what she wanted. And that made all the difference. The morning started like any other. Woke early, made herself a simple breakfast, and prepared to visit the refugee center. 3 months had passed since her arrival on Earth, and she had fallen into a comfortable routine. She spent her days at the center, helping with the children, and her evenings with Ho, learning about Earth and its strange ways. But this morning would be different. This morning would change everything. When she arrived at the center, she noticed immediately that something was wrong. The staff were moving quickly, their faces worried. Medical equipment was being rushed down the hallway toward the emergency wing. "What happened?" asked a passing worker. "New arrivals. A refugee ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean last night. Survivors are being brought in now." Followed the commotion to the emergency wing. The large room had been transformed into a medical station. Doctors and nurses surrounded beds filled with injured beings. Most were adults, but there were children too. She saw blue-skinned creatures with broken wings. She saw small furry mammals with burns covering their bodies. She saw beings she could not even identify, all of them hurt, all of them scared. And then she saw her. In the far corner of the room, alone on a small bed, lay a child. Stopped breathing. She had not seen another since leaving her. And this was not just any, this was a child, no more than 5 years old, with silver skin and 4 eyes that were closed in pain. She walked toward the bed slowly, as if in a dream. The child was small, even for her silver skin was pale and dull, a sign of severe illness. Her breathing was shallow. Tubes and wires connected her to machines that beeped and hummed. A human doctor was standing beside the bed, studying her. "What is wrong with her?" asked. The doctor looked up. "You are the volunteer, yes. Maybe you can help. We cannot find any record of her. No name, no family, nothing." "What is her condition?" "She has blood sickness. It is a genetic disorder common in children. Without proper treatment, it is fatal." Knew about blood sickness. Children born with the condition were considered defective. They were usually abandoned or worse. The disease made them weak and unable to work or fight. In the eyes of the Empire, they had no value. "Can you treat her?" asked. "We are trying, but medicine is difficult for us. The treatment requires specific compounds that we do not have." "I know what she needs." The doctor looked surprised. "You do?" "Yes, I will make a list. You must get these things quickly." For the next several hours, worked with the medical team. She explained biology. She described the treatment process. She helped prepare the medicine and administer it to the small, pale child. Throughout it all, the girl remained unconscious. Her breathing was weak. Her vital signs were unstable. Several times thought they had lost her. But the child held on. As evening fell, the girl's condition finally stabilized. She was not out of danger, but she was no longer dying. Sat beside her bed, exhausted but unwilling to leave. Ho found her there around midnight. "I heard what happened," he said softly, pulling up a chair beside her. "You saved her life." "The doctors saved her life. I just helped." "That is not what they told me. They said you worked for 10 hours straight. They said you knew exactly what to do." Looked at the sleeping child. "She has blood sickness. Children with this disease are thrown away like garbage. They are considered worthless, defective. And yet you saved her." "I could not let her die." His voice cracked. "She is just a child. She did not choose to be sick. She did not choose to be born different." Ho reached out and took her hand. "You are right, she did not choose." They sat in silence for a long moment. "What will happen to her now?" asked. "She will stay here until she recovers. Then we will try to find her family." "She has no family. No family would keep a child with blood sickness." "Then we will find her a new family, someone who will love her." Looked at the girl again, so small, so fragile, so alone. Something shifted inside her, something that had been building for months, ever since she had arrived on this strange blue planet. "I want to take care of her," she said. Ho was quiet for a moment. "What do you mean?" "I want to be her family. I want to make sure she is never thrown away again." "Are you saying you want to adopt her?" The word hung in the air between them. Adopt. Take responsibility for a child who was not her own blood. Raise her, protect her, love her. Yes, said, that is what I want. Are you sure? This is a big decision. She will need constant care. Her disease requires lifelong treatment. I know, turned to face him. But I also know what it feels like to be declared worthless, to be thrown away because you do not fit what others expect. This child deserves better than that. Every child deserves better. Ho smiled. It was the widest smile she had ever seen on his face. Then we will adopt her together, he said. Together? We are married, are we not? And I have always wanted children. He squeezed her hand. Besides, I think I would be a good father. Stared at him. This man who had been given a broken alien princess as a joke. This man who had treated her with nothing but kindness. This man who wanted to adopt a sick orphan simply because it was the right thing to do. You are not like anyone I have ever met, she said. I will take that as a compliment. The girl woke 3 days later. Her 4 eyes opened slowly, blinking against the light. She looked around the room with fear and confusion. Was there when she woke. She leaned close and spoke in. Hello, little one, you are safe now. The girl stared at her. Where am I? You are on a planet called Earth. You were hurt, but you are getting better. Where is my mother? Hesitated. According to the records they had found, the girl's mother had abandoned her on the refugee ship. She had left her sick child behind and disappeared. Your mother is not here, said carefully, but I am going to take care of you now. Would that be okay? The girl was quiet for a long moment. Then in a small voice she asked, will you throw me away too? Felt her heart break. No, she said firmly. I will never throw you away, I promise. Why not? I am defective. You are not defective. You are just different, and being different is not bad. The girl seemed to think about this. Then she asked, what is your name? My name is, what is yours? Lyra. Lyra, that is a beautiful name, smiled. Would you like to meet someone, Lyra? His name is Ho. He is going to help take care of you too. Lyra looked uncertain. Is he? No, he is human. I do not know what that means. It means he is small and warm and kind. I think you will like him. Ho entered the room slowly, not wanting to scare the child. He crouched down so he was at her eye level and smiled. Hello, Lyra, he said in careful. I am happy to meet you. Lyra studied him with her 4 eyes. You are very small. Ho laughed. Yes, humans are small, but we are also very friendly. You look soft. I am soft. Would you like to feel? He held out his hand. Lyra hesitated, then reached out and touched his palm. Her silver fingers explored his skin curiously. You are warm, she said. Humans are warm-blooded. We stay warm all the time. I like warm things. Then I think we will be good friends. Lyra looked at, then at Ho, then back at. You will not throw me away, she asked again. Never, said. Promise. I promise. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She crawled across the bed and climbed into his lap. Okay, she said softly, I will stay with you. Wrapped her arms around the small child. She felt the girl's thin body, her shallow breathing, her racing heartbeat. She felt the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders. And she felt something else, something she had never felt before. She felt like a mother. Over the following weeks, Lyra slowly recovered. She was still weak, and she would always need treatment for her blood sickness, but she was alive and getting stronger every day. She was also becoming attached. She followed everywhere. She clung to her legs. She cried when left the room. At night, she had nightmares about being thrown away and would hold her until she fell back asleep. Ho helped too. He played games with Lyra. He read her stories in. He carried her on his shoulders and made her laugh. He was patient when she was scared and gentle when she was confused. Together, they became a family. 1 month later, they adopted 2 more children. The first was a boy named, a small green being from a destroyed planet. He was 7 years old and had not spoken a word since arriving at the center. But when Lyra approached him and started talking about her new family, he began to listen. And eventually, he began to talk back. The second was an infant named Bora, a tiny creature covered in soft purple fur. She had been found alone in the wreckage of a spaceship, crying for parents who would never come. Had held her one afternoon, and the infant had grabbed her finger and refused to let go. "I think she chose you," Ho had said. "We cannot take another child. We barely have room for Lyra." "We will make room." And they did. The small apartment grew smaller. 3 children needed space for beds, for toys, for clothes. Ho converted his office into a nursery, cleared out storage rooms. They bought extra furniture and rearranged everything twice. It was chaos. It was exhausting. It was the happiest had ever been. Every morning, she woke to the sound of children. Every evening, she read stories and gave hugs and tucked small bodies into bed. Every night, she lay awake and listened to them breathe, marveling at the strange path her life had taken. She had been declared barren, unable to create life. But here she was, surrounded by children who needed her, children she loved, children she would protect with everything she had. Maybe motherhood was not about blood after all. Maybe it was about choice. Maybe it was about love. She had been worthless, a failed princess, a barren woman. But here, in this crowded apartment on a tiny blue planet, she was something else entirely. She was a mother. And she had never been more valuable. 6 months had passed since arrived on Earth. 6 months of learning, growing, and changing. 6 months of building a family she had never expected to have. The apartment was loud now. Lyra had recovered enough to run and play, and she spent her days chasing around the rooms. Baby Bora had learned to crawl and was constantly getting into places she should not be. Ho had started working from home more often so he could help with the children. It was chaotic and messy and wonderful. Was in the kitchen, preparing lunch when the doorbell rang. This was unusual. They rarely had visitors. Most people contacted them through their devices first. "I will get it," Ho called from the living room. Heard the door open. Then she heard Ho say something she did not understand. Then she heard a voice that made her blood turn cold. "Where is the princess?" She knew that voice. She would never forget that voice. Walked into the living room. Standing in the doorway were 3 soldiers in full battle armor. Their 4 eyes scanned the apartment with cold precision. Behind them, she could see more soldiers in the hallway. "Princess," the lead soldier said, "Crown Prince has summoned you home." The children had stopped playing. Lyra was hiding behind the couch, stood frozen by the window. Baby Bora was crying in her crib. Stepped forward, placing herself between the soldiers and her family. "I do not answer to any more," she said. "I am no longer part of the Empire." The soldier laughed. "You think marriage to a human freed you? You are still a princess, still property of the Empire. The Crown Prince commands and you will obey." "I will not." The soldier's 4 eyes narrowed. "You have no choice. Come with us now or we will take you by force. And if I resist, then your human husband and these creatures will be eliminated as obstacles." Felt Ho move beside her. He was small compared to the soldiers. He had no weapons, no armor, but he stood firm. "You are not taking her anywhere," he said. The soldier looked at him with contempt. "Be quiet, primitive. This does not concern you." "My wife is my concern." "Your wife?" The soldier laughed again. "This marriage was a joke. Everyone knows that. The princess was sent here as punishment, not to find happiness. The Crown Prince is amused that she has played house with you for so long, but the game is over now. What does want with me? Asked. That is for the Crown Prince to explain. All I know is that you are to be brought back immediately. Your possessions will be left behind. The human and the creatures are not to accompany you. Looked at her family, at Ho standing brave despite his fear, at Lyra trembling behind the couch, at who had started to cry silently, at baby Bora screaming in her crib. She could not leave them, she would not leave them. But if she resisted, the soldiers would kill them. Warriors were trained for combat from birth. They were faster, stronger, and more dangerous than any human. Ho would die in seconds. The children would die with him. If I come with you, she said slowly, do you promise to leave them unharmed? The soldier shrugged. The Crown Prince has no interest in them. If you cooperate, they will be left alone. No, Ho said, you cannot go with them. I have to. There has to be another way. She turned to face him. His dark eyes were wet with tears. She had never seen him cry before. I cannot let them hurt you, she said softly. Any of you, you are my family now. Then fight for us, stay and fight. If I fight, you will die, all of you. She touched his face gently. I would rather surrender myself than watch you be killed. But what will they do to you? I do not know, but whatever it is, I will survive it. I survived my old life. I will survive whatever comes next. Ho grabbed her hand. I will not accept this. I will find a way to get you back. Ho! I mean it. I will not rest until you are home again, until our family is whole. Felt tears forming in her 4 eyes. She had spent her entire life being told that she was worthless, that no one would ever fight for her. But here was this small human man, ready to challenge an empire for her sake. I love you, she said. The words surprised her. She had never said them before. She had not even known she felt them until this moment. Ho's eyes widened. Then he smiled through his tears. I love you too, he said. Come back to me. I will try. She kissed him then, in front of the soldiers, in front of the children. It was their first real kiss, and possibly their last. When they parted, she walked to the children. She knelt down and hugged Lyra, who was sobbing. I have to go away for a little while, she said. No, you promised you would never leave me. I am not leaving you forever. I will come back. But what if you do not? What if you are gone like my mother? Held the girl's face in her hands. I am not your mother. Your mother abandoned you because she was scared and weak. I am not scared and I am not weak. I am coming back for you, Lyra. Do you believe me? Lyra wiped her eyes. I want to believe you. Then believe me. Can you be brave while I am gone? Can you help Ho take care of Bora? The girl nodded slowly. I can try. Good girl, kissed her forehead. I am so proud of you. She hugged next. The boy did not speak, but he held onto her tightly. Then she picked up baby Bora from the crib and cradled her until she stopped crying. Take care of them, she said to Ho. I will. And take care of yourself. I will do that too. She set the baby down and walked toward the soldiers. At the doorway, she stopped and looked back one more time. Her family stood together in the small living room. The human man who had shown her kindness, the girl who had taught her to love, the silent boy and the crying baby who had become her own. This was not the life she had expected. This was not the life she had been born for. But it was her life, and she would fight to protect it. Let us go, she said to the soldiers. The journey back took 2 weeks, was kept in a small cell on the military transport ship. She was not tortured or mistreated, but she was not treated like a princess either. She was a prisoner being returned for judgment. She thought about her family constantly. She wondered if Ho was sleeping. She wondered if Lyra was having nightmares. She wondered if it started talking again. She missed them so much it hurt. When the ship finally arrived at the Imperial station, was taken to the same grand hall where she had been declared Barren. The same crystal walls, the same floating lights, the same thousands of nobles watching with cold curiosity. And there on the throne of compressed starlight sat. He looked the same as she remembered, tall and silver, with cruel eyes and a mocking smile. He wore the robes of the crown prince, decorated with symbols of his coming ascension. "Sister," he said, "welcome home." Stood tall, she would not kneel, she would not show weakness. "Why have you brought me here?" she asked. "Is it not obvious? I missed you." Laughter rippled through the crowd. "I have received reports," continued, "that you have been busy on that primitive planet, playing wife, playing mother." He spat out the words like poison. "It seems my punishment was not harsh enough. You were supposed to suffer in obscurity. Instead, you found happiness. That bothers you." "Of course it bothers me. You are barren, worthless. You were supposed to fade away and die, not build a new life." Stood and walked down from his throne. "You have embarrassed me, made me look foolish. The nobles are whispering that perhaps the humans are not as primitive as we thought if they can make a failed princess smile." "The humans are better than us," said, "in every way that matters." The crowd gasped, his eyes flashed with anger. "What did you say?" "I said the humans are better, they care for their weak, they protect their children, they believe that every life has value." Met her brother's gaze without flinching. "I was thrown away because my body could not create life. On Earth, I was given a family because I had love to give. Which society sounds more advanced to you?" Struck her across the face. The blow sent her staggering, but she did not fall. "You dare defend those primitives. You dare insult the Empire." "I dare speak the truth." Grabbed her arm and pulled her close. "You will pay for this," he hissed. "I will make you watch as I send a fleet to that pathetic planet. I will have your human husband executed. I will have those orphan creatures you adopted sold as slaves. And then I will lock you away until you rot." Looked at her brother, she saw his cruelty, his pettiness, his weakness. And she felt something she had not felt in months. Rage. "You will not touch them," she said quietly. "And how will you stop me?" "I do not know yet, but I will find a way." She pulled her arm free. "You think you have power over me because you sit on a throne, but real power does not come from thrones. It comes from something you will never understand." "And what is that?" Smiled. "Love," she said, "and the strength it gives us to fight for those we love." Laughed. "Love is weakness." "No, brother. Love is the only thing that has ever made me strong." She was taken to a cell in the depths of the Imperial station, a small room with no windows and a single hard bed. She was to be kept here until decided her fate. But as she sat in the darkness, did not despair. She thought about Ho and his promise to find a way. She thought about Lyra and her brave little face. She thought about Bora and the life waiting for her on Earth. She had spent her whole life believing she was worthless, believing she had nothing to offer. But now she knew the truth. She was a mother, a wife, a fighter. And she would not give up. Not on her family, not on herself, not ever. Somewhere on Earth, a small human man was planning her rescue. And somewhere in this cell, a barren princess was preparing for war. The Empire had thrown her away. Now she would return the favor. Had been in her cell for 3 weeks when the door opened unexpectedly. She expected soldiers. She expected guards coming to take her to another interrogation or another humiliation in front of the court. But instead, standing in the doorway with a nervous expression, was a young woman she did not recognize. "Princess," the woman whispered, "I am here to help you." "Who are you?" "My name is, I am a servant in the palace, and I am also a member of the resistance." Stared at her. "What resistance?" "The movement to overthrow Crown Prince. We have been growing for years, waiting for the right moment." Glanced down the corridor. Your human husband contacted us. He has been working day and night to find allies. He reached out to every opponent of the Crown Prince, every group that hates cruelty, and we responded. Ho did this. He is very determined. He said he promised you he would bring you home, smiled. He also said to tell you that the children miss you. Felt tears forming. Ho, her wonderful, impossible husband, he had actually done it. He had found a way. What is the plan? She asked. Your husband is already here. He arrived this morning on a diplomatic ship from Earth. He has demanded an audience with to discuss the release of his wife. Will never agree to release me. We know that is why we have prepared something else, handed her a small device. This is a communicator. When the time is right, I will signal you. Then you will have a choice to make. What choice? Whether to run and escape with your husband, or to fight and take back what was stolen from you. Looked at the device in her hand. I do not understand. Many nobles support you, princess. They remember your father, the old emperor. They remember how kind he was, how fair. They see for what he is, a cruel tyrant who cares only for his own power. Met her eyes. If you challenge him publicly, if you expose his crimes and call for his removal, many will stand with you. Challenge him for what? I have no claim to the throne. You have something better than a claim. You have moral authority. You were wronged. You were thrown away simply because you could not bear children. And yet you built a life, raised a family, proved that your worth is not measured by your womb. Smiled. The people know your story, princess. It has spread across the empire. You are a symbol of hope to everyone who has ever been told they were not good enough. Was silent for a long moment. She thought about her life, about the years of training and service that had been dismissed because of her biology, about the cruel exile that had become her greatest blessing, about the family waiting for her on Earth. She could run. She could escape with Ho and go back to their little apartment. She could raise her children in peace and forget about forever. But if she did that, nothing would change, would continue his reign of cruelty. More children would be thrown away. More lives would be destroyed. She had a chance to change that, a chance to fight for everyone who had ever been told they were worthless. I will fight, she said. Nodded. I hoped you would say that. Be ready. The signal will come soon. The audience took place in the grand hall. Nobles filled the space, curious to see the human who had dared to come to, sat on his throne, amused by the situation. And there, standing alone before the assembled court, was Ho. He looked small, he looked fragile, he looked utterly out of place among the tall silver. But his voice was steady and strong. Crown Prince, he said, I have come to request the release of my wife, Princess. Laughed. Request? You think you can request anything from me, human? I think I can try. Your request is a criminal who insulted the Empire. She will remain in custody until I decide otherwise. And what would change your decision? Nothing. She will rot in her cell until she learns her place. Ho nodded slowly. I see. Then perhaps I should share some information with your court. Smile faded. What information? Information about you, Crown Prince, about your crimes, about the people you have killed, the treaties you have broken, the laws you have violated. Ho pulled out a small device. I have spent 3 weeks collecting evidence, recordings, documents, testimonies, everything needed to prove that you are unfit to rule. The hall erupted in whispers. Stood from his throne, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. You dare accuse me, you a primitive insect. I dare to speak the truth, just as my wife did. Guards seize him. But before the guards could move, something unexpected happened. A group of nobles stepped forward, blocking their path. Let him speak, said an elderly lord. We deserve to hear this evidence. You would side with a human against your prince, shouted. We would side with justice against tyranny. More nobles joined them. Then more. Within moments, nearly half the court had positioned themselves between and Ho. This is treason, hissed. No, brother, this is revolution. The voice came from the back of the hall. Everyone turned to look. Stood in the doorway. She was still wearing her prisoner's clothes. Her hair was tangled. Her skin was pale from weeks without sunlight. But her eyes burned with fire. She walked through the crowd, which parted before her like water. She climbed the steps toward the throne, stopping just below where stood. For years you have ruled through fear, she said, her voice carrying across the hall. You have thrown away children who were born different. You have executed nobles who questioned you. You have sent young soldiers to die in pointless wars. You have no right to accuse me. I have every right. I was one of your victims. You declared me worthless because I could not breed. You sent me to Earth as a joke, expecting me to suffer and die in obscurity, smiled. But I did not suffer. I did not die. I found love. I found purpose. I found a family. A family of primitives and defective orphans. A family of good souls who showed me what real strength looks like. Turned to face the crowd. Strength is not about power or bloodlines. It is about caring for those who need you. It is about standing up for what is right, even when it is hard. It is about loving people not because they are useful, but because they matter. She pointed at. This man has none of that strength. He is cruel and petty and weak. He rules through fear because he cannot inspire loyalty. He destroys others because he cannot create anything himself. Enough, drew his sword. I will kill you myself right here, right now. Then do it. Stood her ground, she did not flinch, she did not run. Charged at her, sword raised. And then Ho was there. He moved faster than anyone expected. He threw himself between and the blade. The sword cut into his shoulder, drawing blood. But he did not fall. He grabbed the weapon and held on, stopping his attack. You will not hurt her, Ho said through gritted teeth. Not while I am alive. That can be arranged. No, the elderly lord stepped forward, followed by dozens of other nobles. It cannot. Soldiers appeared from the edges of the hall, not soldiers, but the resistance forces had mentioned. They surrounded the prince, weapons drawn. Crown Prince, the elderly lord announced, by the authority of the noble council, you are hereby removed from succession. You will face trial for your crimes against the empire and its people. You cannot do this, I am the heir. You were the heir, now you are a prisoner, the lord looked at. Princess, the council would like to offer you the throne. Blink to what? You are the only surviving child of emperor. With removed, you are next in line. But I was declared barren, worthless. I have no claim. Those declarations were made by and his supporters. They were never valid. The lord bowed his head. The people want you, princess. They have seen your strength. They believe in you. Looked at Ho, who was being treated for his wound by a healer. He smiled at her and nodded. She looked at the faces in the crowd. She saw hope there. She saw belief. She thought about her children on Earth, about Lyra and little Bora, about the future they deserved. I will accept the throne, she said, on one condition. Name it. The empire will change. We will no longer throw away children who are different. We will no longer value bloodlines over character. We will build a society where everyone has worth, regardless of what their bodies can or cannot do. She straightened her shoulders. I will lead by example. I will show the galaxy that a barren princess can be a great empress. That worth comes from within, not from biology. The elderly lord smiled. Those terms are acceptable. The coronation happened 1 week later. Stood before her people, wearing the robes of the empress. Beside her stood Ho, her husband and now prince consort of the empire. And in the front row of the crowd, held by servants and guards who had become their caretakers, were 3 children. Lyra, the girl with blood sickness who had been abandoned and thrown away. The silent boy from a destroyed world who had finally found his voice. Bora, the tiny infant who had chosen her mother by refusing to let go of her finger. They were the royal family now, not by blood but by love. Looked at them and felt her heart swell. She had been called barren, she had been called worthless, she had been sent away as a joke. But she had come back as a mother, as a wife, as an empress. And she had come back with a message for the galaxy. That family is not about blood, it is about love. That motherhood is not about biology, it is about choice. That worth is not determined by what you can produce. It is determined by who you are and how you treat others. As the crown was placed on her head, made a silent promise. She would build a better empire, a kinder galaxy, a future where no child would ever be thrown away again. And she would do it with her family by her side. The barren princess had become a mother. The exile had become an empress. The joke had become a revolution. And humanity, those small and warm and kind beings from a tiny blue planet, had taught the mighty empire how to love. It was thought the most human ending possible. And she would not have it any other way.